Hi, everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of 2024 for the Substance of Choice Sobriety podcast. As always, I am your host, Tara, and it has been a long holiday season, if I'm going to be honest with you. Really glad that's passed. We're in January now. Phil and I spent our Christmas and New Year's sick. He got some kind of virus. He barely got sick, and then of course he passed it on to me 2 days later, and I got super sick. I was sick for a week, was having really bad fevers, had to go to the ER at one point, so I'm feeling much better now. I'm really glad that whole sickness is over, and I'm ready to go into 2024 completely refreshed, renewed, and ready to tackle this year. Even though I've been sober for a while now, I'm still kind of always looking for ways to level up my sober experience. Just because I quit drinking and I know how not to drink, doesn't really mean my sobriety practice is over. I feel like I still practice sobriety even 10 years later. It's not on the forefront of my mind 24/7, and I don't sit and obsess about it or think about it all the time, but I still regularly check in with myself and think of ways that I can elevate or be in a better place in my sobriety. I get to do so much because of my sobriety, and I don't take that for granted. And I feel like sometimes I do, because I'll just start living day to day. I'll start living it's normal life. And yeah, it is normal life. Sobriety is just living without alcohol, and then it just becomes very normal. But I feel like for me as an alcoholic, that can sometimes not be dangerous, but I always want to remember where I come from. I always want to remember my roots. And my roots to the key to living the life that I do now is sobriety. It's not drinking. And that's not just because I made a decision one day. That's because I implemented a whole lifestyle of change that just comes very naturally to me now. If I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, 2020 was not the best year for me at all. I mean, I had some really great times in 2023. I got to travel to 5 different countries in Europe. I got to go skiing in Austria. I spent my 10-year sobriety anniversary in Spain. There was a lot of good that came out of 2023. But if I'm going to be super, super honest with you guys, I struggled a lot in 2023. And 2023 actually brought up a lot about alcoholism for me. Without getting into too much detail, I was a firsthand witness to a family member who is struggling with alcoholism right now. And I witnessed some very ugly things, and it reminded me, not that it's about me at all, but, watching them struggle was horrific. But then internalizing that and actually seeing alcoholism for the first time, I've never seen it up close. I mean, I experienced it, but I wasn't watching myself. I was blacked out for most of it. But actually witnessing it up close and personal, that was a completely different experience. And it was really hard. I struggled a lot this year with alcoholism, not with my own alcoholism, just with alcoholism in general. A good part of 2023 was really difficult, and I turned to, not even consciously, I turned to a lot of coping mechanisms that just were not healthy or that were not in my best interest. I feel ready to change, and it just so happens that we're at the start of the new year. So I'm ready to hop out of this little cocoon that I've built for myself and really start to engage in life again. And so I've decided that I'm going to level up my sobriety in 2024. And it doesn't matter how many years sober you are, or how many days sober you are, or whatever. Wherever you are in your sober journey, you can always level up your sobriety. You can always enrich your sobriety. And I think that's a misconception that a lot of people have, because people assume that if you have years and years of sober time, that you're just a pro and that you have a routine down and then everything is perfect and you know how to make it through anything. And that's absolutely not the case. I'm turned 10 years in September, and then from September basically forward, I had one of the worst years I've experienced in my entire length of sobriety. and I didn't cope properly, and I didn't do the things that I needed to do. And I'm absolutely not a professional at this. Just because I have a lot of consecutive time behind me does not mean that I am not any more at risk than anyone else who has suffered with alcoholism. So I have decided that this year, at least for the first part of the year, I'm really going to start leveling up my sobriety, just for my own sake and my own personal safety. So I thought this would be a really good list to share because, at whatever stage you are in your sobriety, we can always level up. We can always enrich. We can always add. We can always add extra layers of safety and protection to our sober routines. So I'm going to give y'all a little list. I love my lists. I'm going to give y'all a list of the things that I have already implemented or I'm just about to implement into my life to ensure that I am doing everything that I can to protect myself and my sobriety and to level up my sober experience in 2024. Okay, so number one, I sent that email that I have been meaning to send for months and months and months. In a previous episode, I talk a lot about finding your sober roots and, finding strength in your sobriety. And one of the things that I talk about a lot is, going back to your childhood and going back to the things that you liked when you were young. And something that I've always really loved doing is painting. I'm horrible at painting. If you see some of the things that I have actually painted, I'm not the worst painter in the world, but I don't have to be great. You don't have to be great to experience something that you really enjoy. Anyway, I love painting. I love blasting music, zoning out, painting, and just being in that zone, that creative zone where you just the whole world is just completely gone and it's just you and a canvas. That, for lack of a better word, that's a high for me. Those moments give me so much joy and happiness. I love painting, and I have always wanted to take a painting class. So I actually, on the 1st of January, which is only a couple days ago, I actually sent out an email to a local art school that I've always wanted to email. But I was like, why not now? Better now than never. So I sent an email to my local art school inquiring about signing up for one of their adult art programs, and I'm going to sign up for a 6 or an 8 week program. I'm going to go for 3 hours every week. I'm going to meet other people who are painting, and I'm going to go to painting class. So I'm actually really excited about that. I have always wanted to send that email. I've always wanted to make that inquiry. And so I've decided, to level up my sobriety, to level up myself. I'm going to do the things that I want to do. I'm going to prioritize that. So email is sent. So that's the first thing I did to level up my sobriety. Okay. And the second thing I did was change up my diet. This was completely unintentional, by the way. I said I got sick around Christmas and New Year's and was sick for a week. I literally didn't eat solid foods for 5 days. I lost 6 pounds. I could not eat food. And the foods I started eating when I was able to eat again were very light, no meat, no grease, no fat, no nothing. And it's been several days since I've started eating again. And one thing that I can't have right now is meat. And I'm not really intentionally making that decision. It's just I'm listening to what my body is asking me for. And so I've kind of switched over to a vegetarian diet. I don't know how long that's going to last, but as of right now, it feels really good. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling really healthy, and I'm feeling really light, which is completely different than how I felt even a couple weeks ago, because I had mentioned unhealthy coping mechanisms earlier. And for the latter part of 2023, I've dealt with eating disorder since I was 15, but I started to have a serious binge eating problem the last couple months of 2023, especially November and December. I have never specifically dealt with binge eating before as an eating disorder. I have always, struggled with anorexia and bulimia. The binge eating really came as a surprise, and I really didn't even notice that I was doing it. It just kind of became this unconscious thing of having to eat so much until I felt full, and then continuing to go for more, because it wasn't even about my stomach. It was just about filling some void I felt somewhere, but I wasn't even thinking about it when I was doing it. And I was lying about how much food I was eating. I was hiding food to eat for later, so my husband wouldn't see and wouldn't question me. And I realized that I was living the drinking cycle, except I wasn't drinking. I was doing it with food. And it felt so much like drinking. It was the lying, the hiding, the uncontrollable craving for more. So that was kind of an eye-opening experience, and it was really uncomfortable for me to kind of put those two together. So in order to level up one parts of my sobriety this year is to change my diet and to be more intentional about what I put in my body and to really listen to what's best, because again, I had those unhealthy coping mechanisms going, and I was not treating my body in a nice way, and I was binging whatever I could. And not that weight matters at all, but I did gain like 20 pounds in the span of like 2 months, which is a lot of weight to put on. I'm not sad about it. Like, it is what it is. And I can lose it really easily. Not that is the point, but the main point is that I was living the drinking cycle through my diet because I wasn't in a good place mentally. So one of the things that's really important to me this year is to kind of take ownership over that piece of my life again and to start living in a better way, because that's such a slippery slope. Like, once I start ingesting and feeding that alcoholic part of my brain, that's dangerous for me. So it's very high on my priority list to level up my own sobriety by taking ownership of my diet and just being more intuitive and just like listening to what my body's actually craving. The third thing I did really did all this within a span of like 2 days, which is great. Like, I really have started 2024 off in like a really strong way. But I reached out to a lot of people on social media who are kind of in my niche, in similar fields to what I do, because I want to make more connections. I said that I had let a lot of my life kind of like fall to the wayside over the last couple months because I just really wasn't in a good place. And one of the things that I've really let slip is like making connections, trying to get out there and make friends. And honestly, making friends as a 30-year-old is like never a good time. And it's actually really difficult, but that's something that's really important to me to do, especially this year. God knows I love my husband. I'm obsessed with him. Like, Phil is my absolute best friend in the whole wide world, but you have to have more than one person to rely on in your life. And I do have family and I have all of that, but it's really important to me to continue to make those connections and to continue to grow like around people and to be with people and to, just cultivate friendships and just make friends and to have good times and have people to go out with on a Friday night, to go to a painting class or like do whatever. And so that's really important to me. So I've already started reaching out to people and I've already started to make plans. So that's something I'm doing also to level up. And the fourth thing that I'm doing, and I feel like everyone should do this like once every couple months, but I am really letting go of some resentment that I have. I have to start my resentment journal again. My resentment journal is like one of the best things that I've ever done. I love my resentment journal. I haven't done one in a long time, hence like why I have a lot of resentment built up. I'm going to start writing like what I'm angry about, what I'm upset about, things that I've left unsaid, conversations that need to happen. There's just a lot of things that have just been piled up over, again, the last couple months, and I'm starting to feel a little resentful and angry, which is not a great thing to feel. And for me, it's so important to keep that like clear conscience, especially around anger and especially around resentment, because I've said this before and I'll say it again, like anger and resentment is like a very easy one-way ticket back to relapse, because being in that angered state, being in that irritated state is just so bad for you in general, and it makes everything else seem so much worse than it is, and it just creates this very ample opportunity for this crazy spiral to start. So it's so important for me in 2024 and just for my sobriety in general to like get those out, be able to have those conversations when they're appropriate to have, not only for my relationships, but also for myself and my sobriety. So that's a hard one. That's definitely not like one of the easier ones on this list of how I'm leveling up my sobriety, but that's something that's definitely necessary and something that I'm going to feel much better about once I have overcome that. And the fifth thing I'm going to start doing this year to level up my sobriety is to try one new thing a month. This month, I've already decided that my one new thing is going to be the adult painting class, so I'm really excited about that. But I just feel like I am in such a rut. Like, we just get into our routines, we get into our work routines, we get into our marriage routines, our life routines, and life passes so quickly. Like, it was astonishing to me how fast 2023 went. I'm still in shock that we're in 2024. Like, that number just does not seem real to me at all. But for how quickly this whole year, last year, flew by, it really kind of put into perspective for me that, like, not that I'm running out of time, like I'm only 31, but there are still so many things I do want to experience in life. And I've said this 1,000 times, but sobriety is a gift, and this life that I have is a gift. And I don't want to waste, it's not a waste, but like, I don't want to waste any time doing the same thing over and over and over again. Like, I have been given the gift of life. I have been given the gift to explore and to connect and to try and to do all of these new things. And just for the last several years, honestly, I have just been very content in my routine. And like, sometimes that's fine. Like, you don't have to be adventurous and like run around and do crazy things all the time. But something that's really important for me and for my sobriety in 2024 is to really get out in the world and to start trying new things. So I have made it a goal that I will try 12 new things this year. I don't know what they all are going to be yet. I'll kind of let that unfold as it happens. But I feel like that is really important just for myself and just for my own sober growth in general. I always want to be learning new things. I always want to experience new things. I want to experience new people. I want to experience new ways of thinking and new ways of being, because there is so much out there in the world to experience. There is so much world out there. There is so much life to live. And it makes me kind of sad to think about the possibility of just like sitting in the same routine 24/7 and doing the same things day in and day out. Like, I really want to make it a priority for myself to really get out there this year and to try 12 new things. The sixth thing I'm doing this year to level up my sobriety is to prioritize my growth. And this kind of ties into basically like everything I'm talking about, but I really want to prioritize myself this year in a way that I haven't in many years past. And I've actually cut back on my work schedule already in order for that to happen. I'm going to make a little less money, but it's more worth it in my opinion. Just, this is only for me specifically, and I have the ability to do this, so I'm going to take advantage of it. But it's more important for me to feel, balanced emotionally than it is to have like a little bit more money in my bank account. Like, what good is that money going to do if I'm sitting there feeling like very unfulfilled and very sad and, like I'm not progressing in life and that I'm not growing? And the seventh thing I'm doing, and the final thing that I'm doing to level up my sobriety in 2024, is to actually spend some more alone time by myself. I spend so much time with my husband. I love him, and I don't want that to change in that capacity. But I do feel like, and this has nothing to do with my marriage, this has everything to do with me, I feel like I have allowed myself to become so ingrained into these routines, not even just my marriage, like my life routine, my work routine, like all the routines that I have right now. I feel like I have allowed myself to become like locked in such a way where I have really lost sight of myself in several aspects of my life. And that doesn't feel good, because now I'm kind of looking at myself after the last couple years, especially the last couple months, and I'm kind of wondering, like, who am I now? Like, I haven't checked in with myself in a really long time, and I don't really know where I'm standing, if that makes any sense. Like, I have lost myself over these last couple years, and that's totally normal, and that happens all the time. And, I'm really glad that I caught it, because I'm able to move forward and to start discovering things about myself again. But I really just feel so disconnected from myself. And I feel like in a lot of instances, like, I just really don't know who I am anymore. I'm unsure of so much about myself nowadays, and I haven't felt that disconnected from myself in a really long time. Like, I've had a lot of ups and downs, especially in the beginning of my sobriety, but at about 5 or 6 years, I've kind of been just like coasting, and then I kind of like took a dip this last year, and I haven't taken a dip in a long time, and I'm just really kind of feeling unsure about myself. So it's really important to not only me, but also like in a very big way, my sobriety, to sit down and start figuring out who I am now. Check in with myself. What am I like? What do I like? What do I dislike? Just kind of get like a feel of where I am in this new phase of life that I'm entering. I know this is a little bit of a shorter episode, and usually I really like to dive in and do like deep explanations and really get in there, but this is just kind of where I am at the moment. And sobriety, no matter how many years you have, is messy sometimes. And I feel like my sobriety is a little bit of a mess. Not that I'm not craving, and I don't feel like I'm going to drink, and I don't feel like I'm in danger in that way. And if I did, like I would definitely take steps to immediately like prevent that and cut that off. But I'm just not really feeling myself. And the only thing I could think of for a topic for this week was, leveling up my sobriety, because I feel like that's exactly where I am. I really am ready. And it really just so happened to coincide with the new year. Like this was a complete fluke and actually like really great timing. But these are the things that I have already starting January 1st. Like I have already started doing these things. I've already implemented several of these things, like of this list, into my life. And I actually feel really excited. I feel really hopeful for 2024 and feeling better, because last year, it was a little rough. And, but thankfully, like I've built such a strong foundation in my life, and I have such a strong support system that like I'm completely supported all the way through it. And I feel very lucky for that. But for me personally, there are so many things that I feel that I am lacking in my life, and my life has everything to do with my sobriety. Because like I said, sobriety is such a gift. I am living a gift. I am living a gift every single day. And not that I have wasted any time, but I don't want to spend any more of my time. I'm ready to get out of the cocoon. Like I said, I'm ready to kind of break free of my chrysalis and fly around as a beautiful, feeling better butterfly in life. Like it really doesn't matter to me if I'm 10 days sober, if I'm 10 years sober. Sobriety always really has to stay at the forefront of my mind, and not even forefront as in like I'm thinking sobriety 24/7, because I'm really not. Honestly, the only time I really sit and think about sobriety for long periods of time is when I'm sitting down filming or making sober content on Instagram, or talking about sobriety on TikTok, or just making sober content. Sobriety for me now, really, the only way I can really explain it, it kind of just feels like a red light or green light in my brain. It's like I literally have a stoplight in my brain that has a red and green light, and things will come into my life. People will come into my life. I'll go into situations, and it's like my brain does this like auto check-in thing, or it's like, okay, is this good for my sobriety or is it bad for my sobriety? Is it good to go? Am I green, or should I like pause? Is it red? And I feel like that's kind of how I process sobriety nowadays. And it's really not even a conscious thing that I do. It's just kind of like this very unconscious, subconscious thing that my brain does like automatically now. So I don't sit and obsess and think about sobriety 24/7, but honestly, like I am an alcoholic, and it doesn't matter if I've been sober for 10 years, going on 11 into 2024. I'm still in danger of relapse, and I'm not in immediate danger, and I'm not worried about it. And it's not something I think about because I don't feel like I'm in any immediate danger, but that option is always out there. I mean, you do hear the stories of people who have been sober for 10, 20, 30 years, and they relapse, and their life is ruined, and some people lose their lives. And, I never want to take an amount of time that I have and think that I'm safe. And I don't want to feel like I'm living in danger either. Like that's not at all how I feel, but I don't ever want to feel like I've beat this thing, because the moment that you feel like you've beaten it is the moment that it comes back to beat you. And that's never a place I want to be. And, it's different. People's sobriety is different. I actually heard this woman talking the other day, and it just made so much, like, it was like the perfect thing. This woman was talking about how we accidentally use the terms sobriety and alcohol-free lifestyle interchangeably. She was saying that, like, sobriety is for people who have struggled with alcohol use disorder, alcoholism, whatever you want to call it, and have like an actual physical, chemical, psychological reaction to alcohol. Whereas living a sober, like an alcohol-free life, or for people who don't have any of that, who have not had that struggle, and who have just decided to live an alcohol-free life. And for me, I live in sobriety. My sobriety is, at the end of the day, life or death for me. And although some of these things may seem silly, like changing my diet and, going to an art class, these things all tie in so heavily to how I'm able to stay sober. And if I start thinking that the two are completely separate and that my life is completely separate from alcoholism, that's when I should start feeling a little worried. And I don't feel that way, which is great. And I can see the connection between everything, which is, I know that I'm in a good place with that part of my life, but I don't ever want it to start trickling down into something that could be dangerous, which is why I've decided to level up my sobriety for 2024. So I hope this video was helpful for you. I hope that you can take one or two of these things and level up your sobriety, or just make yourself feel better in any way, shape, or form, or like whatever you need. I'm here for you. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Hello, I am Tara, and I will be posting an episode next week. I hope y'all had a really safe, happy, healthy new year. If you relapsed over the holiday season, it is not the end of the world. I'm doing an episode on relapsing very soon, so watch out for that one. And I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.